Those of you who haven't been here for a while, we're reviewing the precepts. And this week, we'll be reviewing the fourth. Now, the fourth reads, aware of the suffering caused by unmindful speech and the inability to listen to others, I undertake the training to cultivate loving speech and deep listening in order to bring about joy and happiness for others and to relieve my own and others' suffering. Loving speech and deep listening. This precept is actually all about speaking and listening, about how and what we say to others, to ourselves, and the effect that it has on us. Most of the time, this precept focuses on how we speak to others. We speak all day long to others and probably don't think much about it actually until we get into a tangle with someone. But often, we really don't consider how we speak to ourselves. And that's going on all day long. Nor do we listen to the effect that it has on us. To this part of the precept, I'd like us to look today. I'd like us to look at how we speak to ourselves. To others as to myself as to others. So, if you will, pause with me for a moment and consider. What is the background soundtrack that runs through your mind during the day? Whose voice is it? What does it sound like? Is it kind? Is it caring? Does it encourage or support you? Just notice. If you're like many people, we have an inner tyrant that narrates our world. That's what Ajahn Sucitto calls this part of us that's always criticizing what we say and do. It tells us that we're not good enough, that we don't deserve something, or that other people look down at us or are only being nice to be polite. Our minds get snagged on memories of things we've done wrong, and it reviews them like beads on a mala. Meet your inner critic. Meet your tyrant. Many folks are highly self-critical. We have an inner critic that likes to dominate and lie in waiting and pounce whenever we've made a mistake. And we're at its mercy unless we see it in action. But seeing and hearing the voice isn't enough. Yes, seeing is the first step, and it's an important one. Because without seeing it, we are truly at its mercy. But the real work comes with what follows, what we do with the tyrant's negative self-talk that yammers on at us all day long. I know because I have my own inner tyrant that I've worked with. You see, I'm a recovering perfectionist. I believed for a long time that my inner critic was helping me to be a better person, when in fact, it was beating me up all the time. I'd review my day in terms of what I hadn't gotten accomplished, what I didn't do well, what I did or didn't say or do, what worried me, what upset me, what my mistakes were. It never was off duty, and it was tiring. But it was also all that I knew. I mean, for a long time, I let that thought push me around. But inside, I could feel how it made me feel like I wasn't good enough. Like, how did that help? Right? It took a long time to actually hear the critic, because it was always with me like a shadow. It was vigilant, narrated my day from the point of view of mistakes. But seeing the critic didn't change its tune. I had to see it and learn how to respond differently. I had to learn to love it into the fold of mindfulness, as I like to say. You see, the critic was trying to help me see the errors of my ways, which is helpful to a point. Of course, I wanted to know if I was unskillful when I spoke to someone, But I didn't think about how I was really speaking to myself and how I was guiding myself. As I listened to this voice, as I turned inward and listened to how I was speaking and how it made me feel, well, then I could feel the oppression. It felt oppressive. It felt heavy. I could really hear the negativity, and I felt bad. I felt sad. I felt depleted, defeated, defensive. And these were signs. These were signs and important signs. Feeling oppressed is a sign, and we want to notice the signs. Sometimes the how of knowing when a critic is around is by how it feels. Like it feels, oh, I can feel myself, shrinking, cowering. And that's the clue that the critic is present and accounted for. So I saw and I felt firsthand, not once, but many times, that when it spoke, I cowered in fear. I felt bad about myself. And I was always measuring myself against some perfect version of Susan that didn't exist. I mean, though it was trying to protect me, the voice shamed and blamed me. I couldn't get out from under its thumb. And so often the inner critic is born out of fear of being weak, of being soft, of being seen or not being seen, or seen less than. So I took a radical approach, almost like the opposite approach. When the critic was around, when the criticism was flying around the mind, and I noticed it, noticed how bad I felt, I began to talk nicely to it. It wasn't easy because I was used to being a dutiful servant. It wasn't easy because the negative self-talk was the habit, deeply ingrained. But then I began to imagine what or how someone who loved me would speak, how they would respond, for example, or how they might respond to a child who was tantruming or who made a mistake. Scolding a child only makes the upset worse. So how would a loving elder respond? In public, we've all witnessed how adults handle children when they're upset. Some exacerbate the situation, and others know how to support the child to regain composure and then begin to think about possibilities. We know what works and what doesn't. The child needs to feel loved back into calm, soothed back into feeling at ease first before they can see, think, or feel straight. Yelling at them only exacerbates the situation. But imagine, what if you imagined what a caring elder would say to you to cool the fire, to quiet the critic, to soothe the upset? And this is what I played with, how to kindly respond from that place. And I used Rumi's guest house as like a frame, with mindfulness as the gracious host, greeting each guest at the door as they came. And when the critic came, arose the firm hand of kindness. It said, I see you. Hello, you're welcome. Come on in. Have a seat. But I'm not going to listen to you right now. Not now. Now I'm going to go do something else. But you come here, have a seat, have a cup of tea, and I'll be back. And I would just quiet the system down. I'd come back, let go of the critical thought, and come back in and just soothe in the ripples of upset. Because I truly got jazzed up every time that voice came. It was like I could feel the contraction in my body and just wanted it to relax. So for a few moments at a time, I'd interrupt the rant. Right? That's all I could muster, was a few moments at a time. But repeatedly interrupting the negative self-talk is how it slowly dies on the vine. How the critic's voice slowly begins to lose its foothold in the mind. Now I wasn't feeding the critic by giving it unwise attention. I wasn't indulging the thoughts, but there was this momentary relief where I would come back in and let the dust settle, let the stress drain out. Momentarily, I practiced relief. And momentarily, that created some space for a new habit to grow. The critic didn't stop talking all at once or all of a sudden. We just momentarily interrupted it, lifting out of the thought stream and then gradually, slowly making room, unwinding from the stress. This is a loving act. This is a complete loving act to do that. And doing that many times is what begins to entrain the mind towards something different, to let go of the stressful and to move toward the easeful. That's how it happens. So this week, I would invite all of us to pay attention to how we speak to ourselves, how we talk to ourselves in the privacy of our minds, because we're doing it all the time. Let's begin to notice when the negative self-talk happens. And with mindfulness, with a non-judgmental, caring attention, use the firm hand of kindness and say, not now, not now. Then come back in, let go of that thought, come on back in, take a breath, and unwind the stress in here. Just unwind it, let the dust settle. How many times can we do that? As many times as we can remember. Let's begin to entrain that move, because that move is what is going to help the critic to soften the voice, to not visit so frequently to the guest house. All right? We can do this. We can learn to love the critic into the fold of mindfulness, just like we learn to love everything into the fold of mindfulness. We leave nothing out. We can do this. It's for our welfare, and I assure you it's for all the people that you encounter, because the more we're kind in here, the easier it's just going to be out there to whatever comes at us. Okay. Thank you for your kind attention. All right. With that, let's find our bodies and let's kindly open them up, maybe stretch them out, lifting up the arms, stretch long, open it up. Nice big inhalations, nice big exhalations, maybe twist the upper body around. So we open up the barrel of the chest where we breathe. This is a wind instrument. When I'm sitting down, I generally give a little more attention, right, to the upper body, the torso, the upper body, the head, the neck, because that's what's most available for movement, and the movement and breath releases whatever surface tension and stress and that has accrued even over the past little while. Now settle into something comfortable and maybe soften the gaze or close the eyes. With the next inhalation, opening up the whole of the interior. With the exhalation, soften all the way down around the torso, into the base, onto the ground. And keep allowing the body permission to let go of whatever tension arises. Maybe see if you can add a little bit of warmth to the atmosphere, a little bit of kindness. And kindly Keep allowing the organism to soften and settle. You're kindly watching over the process. And if there's any busyness in the mind, just let the busyness be like clouds in the sky. And meanwhile, there is this just sitting here and unwinding from the stress and giving that to yourself. Now let's play a game for the next little while. See if you can catch yourself getting caught in negative thinking, negative talk. And if you do, and you notice, good job. Now take a breath. Come on back inside the body and unwind from the stress of that thought. Just settle again. Notice negative self-talk and kindly come back and unwind from it.
last few minutes of the meditation, letting go of the instruction and coming back inside and just feeling into a comfortable posture, sitting here breathing. Making much of whatever ease is present, just breathing and enjoying that experience of ease. And finally, just add a few drops of appreciation and gratitude for your own practice, for just showing up for yourself and also for each other. And sensing and appreciating all of us alone together practicing the blessing of that. Thank you for your practice.